I am Father Daniel LeBlanc, Oblate of Mary Immaculate, representing the Oblates and Vivat International here in New York at the United Nations. Father Valentine Talang is also living here with me at Ascension Parish and doing an internship at the United Nations. We were lucky this week to have Father Charles Rensburg with us, visiting, doing some work, and also getting to know New York and the UN and Vivat International and the Justice Coalition of Religious. What are your impressions?
Father Daniel, thank you very much to you and the community here for your warm hospitality. We're very, very grateful. I'm very grateful for this visit because it's helped to transition my and our understanding from a conceptual understanding of justice and peace that we often discuss at board level, to be able to experience it at the grassroots of how you are creating an agenda of advocacy amongst various governments, different forums of civil society, and for me that is very impressive to see, and even though it's not clear as to the visibility of what you're doing to be seen in the short term, I really do believe from what I have seen that in the long-term horizon, your work is really advocating for the change, a global change of society in the long run, and I think it's a very valuable service you give to the church and to the poor. I think the things that stood out for me particularly is the conflict in the understanding of value. We come from a Christian society and we think that values are universal, and yet they're not. And people don't come from different perspectives, they come from different needs, they come from different histories, and that shapes the way in which values are perceived and constructed. And I think the work you're doing in this advocacy is at the level of the United Nations, is building consensus around constructing values that are good for society. And unfortunately, in the light of all the conflicts in the world and the injustices, that process of shaping values is an ongoing process that has to take place all the time. And I'm very grateful for what you're doing in this regard. And I was able to see that on a case-by-case basis in visiting the various offices and experiencing part of the conferences that you participate in. I was impressed in terms of what, when I looked at you, is that you're very brave and you're very challenged ambassadors. From what I've heard from your confreres and colleagues at work, is that you're not shy to call out ambassadors and their governments and challenging them towards good governance. And I think that is admirable. And you had said, in one comment, well, I'm not too sure if the ambassadors love or hate me, and it was a good sign that you're forthright, and that forthright challenge of governments towards values, I think, is a very good example. When we were in the conference together, discussing resilience for societies, I was impressed by your depth of knowledge of countries. Particularly, we spoke about Costa Rica, and immediately you went on and you told me all the various things about Costa Rica, and the issues that are pertinent to that country in relation to justice and peace issues and social justice issues. And I just thought that depth of knowledge, of understanding of what is happening in different countries really enables you to really further the agenda of how to create advocacy opportunities. I was very impressed. I was also impressed how through your advocacy initiatives you managed to get homelessness placed on the agenda of governments in order to measure and to start addressing as a serious concern. And I think that if it wasn't for one of your advocacy initiatives, that probably would never have happened, you know. So I thought that was a very good example of how you're developing the agenda of the United Nations towards justice issues. I think from what I've seen is that you're a very hard worker, and you attend a lot of conferences, and attending a lot of these conferences, you build relationships, and in building those relationships become a means by which to create advocacy opportunities. Mm-hmm. If you don't have those relationships, you don't have advocacy. It's establishing a relationship that is able to create opportunities for change. So I think that is a tremendous example. In terms of the rapport and the working relationships you have with Vivat and the other faith-based advocacy groups in the United Nations, it was very clear to me that you have really, over these last 20 years, invested tremendously in building those relationships with other faith-based organizations. Mm. I'm hoping from the Superior General and his council that they will consider giving you an assistant to learn from you, because you have such a wealth of experience that needs to be passed on through some level of apprenticeship to other oblates to continue the work that you're doing for the future. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for the tremendous community life that we shared, and I wish you well in your continued efforts here at the United Nations. Thank you.
You're welcome. And what about New York? Do you like New York?
They call it the Big Apple, and I must say I love the vibe. I mean, that's a wonderful vibe here in New York. Lots of energy, great places to eat, lovely sights to see. I was totally impressed. Thank you.
Thank you. And you got to see a few things happening around the parish here. It's a parish of the Archdiocese of New York, where we oblates are always welcome. So what about the parish?
Well, I was so impressed by the level of activity and liveliness in the parish, and the young people and the children. I was just so shocked. I said this could be really a beacon and an example to many other parishes in Italy and around the world. So I really I commend you and the pastor here in the parish for the way in which they really create partnership and a real lively participation of the lay faithful in animating the parish. You can see the parish is run by the lay people here.
Yes. And they do so much when they get the opportunity.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can see this parish is tremendously alive.
Well, it's been 20 years, and I must say I like it here. I love it here. I like the work I do. And just like you mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm also hoping that soon there will be somebody who can come and accompany me and learn the ropes, because there's a lot to learn. The UN is a big place. So that we can continue this work, because I do think we do bring something that non-faith-based organizations can never bring in the same way.
No, definitely. I fully agree with that. It was, for me, it was really moving for me to experience the birthplace of the Sustainable Development Goals. Mm. You know, and the Sustainable Development Goals have really made an impact on the world, and will continue. And especially as it's being taught in schools, the young people are being taught SDGs. Not so much the older people probably don't know what's SDGs, but the younger ones all know what's SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And so what we will definitely see and the fruit of this values construction at the United Nations in the next generation. You will definitely see that, because they're being taught SDGs, they're being taught sustainability, they're being taught a care for the environment, they're being taught respect for other people. So all those values are being translated into the children of the future. And I think that we will see change. We will definitely see change.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great having you here. I would be happy if you would want to stay on, but I'm sure others would not. So you're always welcome back. And as you've seen, the pastor is always happy to have Oblates here. He's a very good man. So welcome back, hopefully next year.
Thank you. You can bet your bottom dollar I'll be back.
Excellent.
Take care.